I was 14 the year my father left the second time. Yeah, that was the year the trouble started climbing. That was the year my mother worked 2 shifts to make ends. The kid I was at 14, that's where the album begins. I was 14 in the 8th grade at a school where the metal detectors were installed the year before I got there. The principal announced a new security policy at the fall assembly. My mother was working the 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift at the hospital, then the 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. shift at the second job. So I was alone from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. every day of the week. That's when the neighborhood started raising me. Marcus was 17 and lived 2 doors down. Marcus started giving me rides after school. Marcus was polite to my mother when she was home. Marcus was doing something else when my mother wasn't home. And I didn't ask what Marcus was doing, because Marcus paid attention to me, and nobody else at 14 was paying attention to me. And attention at 14 is more valuable than the truth about where the attention comes from. Yeah, by spring of 8th grade, I was carrying things from Marcus in my backpack, not asking what was in the packages. Getting 40 a week for the delivery service. 40 a week to a 14-year-old with no father is generational money. I was buying my own school clothes for the first time. My mother thought I was earning it doing chores for the older neighbor. I let her think that that's the first specific lie I told my mother. That lie is still the lie I remember the clearest, not because of what happened after it, because that lie was the door. That lie was the door I opened at 14, and everything else walked through it. And the album can't start anywhere except at that door. The kid I was at 14 opened the door. The album is about what walked in. The kid I was at 14, that's where the album begins. The kid I was at 14, that's where the trouble came in. Not born bad, not made bad, just alone in the afternoon. The kid I was at 14, and the door opened too soon. By summer between 8th and 9th grade, I was 15 in age, but not in decisions. I was making 15-year-old decisions on a 25-year-old scale. Marcus had 2 younger runners besides me by then. He had built a small operation around 3 middle school kids who could walk into places 17-year-old boys couldn't walk into. The younger the runner, the less suspicion. That's the actual economics of what was happening. The economics were designed by adult men who were counting on the fact that my mother worked 2 jobs and Marcus was there instead. The kid I was at 14 wasn't the target of a bad decision. The kid I was at 14 was the specific target of a specific economic model that required kids like me being available for a purpose I couldn't refuse, because refusing meant losing the only attention I was getting. I look back at that kid from where I stand now, and I don't hate him, and I don't excuse him. I just mark the church to know that testimony starts before the sin. Testimony starts at the specific structural conditions that made the sin the only story available to a specific 14-year-old. The kid I was at 14 didn't wake up choosing to sell drugs. The kid I was at 14 woke up with nobody home and 40 on the table, and a 17-year-old paying attention. The kid I was at 14, that's where the album began. The kid I was at 14, that's where the trouble came in. Not born bad, not made bad, just alone in the afternoon. The kid I was at 14, and the door opened too soon. This is not a defense. This is not an excuse. This is the actual specific beginning I have to include. Cause if I skip the 14-year-old, I skip the door. And the door is where the album starts, not the score. First time I held it, I was 16 and the way surprised me. First time I held it, the object was heavier than the story. First time I held it, I was in the passenger seat of Marcus' cousin's car, parked behind the corner store on Sycamore at like 11 p.m. on a Wednesday. Marcus' cousin was 22 and was the one who actually ran the operation. Marcus was middle management. His cousin was the one with the actual authority. He handed me the object across the center console, wrapped in a towel, because that's how he handled everything the first timers. The object was heavier than I thought it was going to be. Everything I had absorbed from movies and music videos and video games had made the object seem lighter than it actually was in my actual hand. The object had weight the media hadn't communicated. I remember thinking a specific thought in that specific moment: this is heavier than I thought. And the weight was the first honest thing about that entire chapter of my life. The weight was more honest than the plan. The plan was theoretical, the weight was actual. And once I had the actual weight in my actual hand, the plan stopped being theoretical and became something I was inside of. That's the phase transitions nobody explains in the prevention materials. The prevention materials treat the decision as the moment of transgression. The prevention materials are wrong. The decision is theoretical until the weight arrives. Once the weight arrives, you're not in the prevention phase anymore. You're inside the thing you have been prevented from. And nothing in the previous 16 years of my life had prepared me for what my body did to my brain. The second the weight was in my hand was steady in a way that scared me. My breathing was calm in a way that scared me. Some part of me had been waiting for the weight, and when the weight arrived, that part of me got quiet. The quiet was worse than the transgression itself, because the quiet meant I was built for this, and I hadn't known I was built for this until the weight told me. And I spent every year since I got saved trying to understand what it means to have been built for something the cross had to unbuild. The first time I held it, the weight woke something up, and the cross had to put that something back to sleep. And I don't know if it's something that's sleeping or just waiting, and that's honest testimony that the church doesn't have a category for the weight. The weight was heavier than the story. The quiet was worse than the transgression's glory. Cross had to unbuild what the weight had built. First time I held it, that's the actual guilt. Don't know why I'm alive, yeah. My brother didn't make it, I need to say it out loud. He died at 19 on the corner of 8th and Prospect. I was 18, we had grown up in the same apartment for 15 years. I got the call at 2 a.m. from his mother, my second mother, because his mother had been mine every summer when my mother worked doubles. She called me because she couldn't reach her sister, my actual mother, and she was crying so hard I couldn't understand the words at first. When I understood, I sat on the floor of my dorm room at community college, and I didn't cry until 4 a.m. The reason I didn't cry until 4 a.m. was because for 2 hours I was doing the math of who else might get hit next. That's what growing up like we grew up teaches you. You process the death by calculating the exposure of everyone still alive. Grief has to wait until you've counted who's safe. The grief hit at 4 a.m. when I ran out of people to count. Everyone who could get hit had been counted, and there was nothing left but the fact that he was gone. He was in a casket in my aunt's living room 3 days later. Open casket, my aunt insisted she wanted everybody to see what had happened to her son. My brother didn't make it, that's the actual chapter. My brother didn't make it, and the album needs the actual capture of the fact that survivor's guilt is a testimony most churches skip. My brother didn't make it, and I did. That's the actual grip of the weight I carry into every Sunday morning service. My brother didn't make it, and Christ knows I'm nervous that I'm giving testimony from the side that survived. My brother didn't make it, and I don't know why I'm alive. There's a specific theology I have not been able to build for what happens to people who die before the return of the king, who died in the middle of the same street. Mistakes I made. My brother was Muslim toward the end because his father was Muslim, and I don't know what happens to my brother in eternity, and I refuse to construct a doctrine that makes me feel better about it. The pastor at my church has a very confident answer to that question. The pastor at my church didn't know my brother. I hold the tension of not knowing. I hold the tension of loving my brother. I hold the tension of not being able to make theological math work cleanly. I hold the tension of being alive when he isn't. And I hold the tension of not being able to explain why the shooting stopped one door short of me. The shooter never got charged. The corner still stands. The bullet holes are still in the wall of the corner store. And I go back to that corner sometimes just to stand in the spot, because standing in the spot is the closest I can get to my brother. And that's not a testimony most churches want to hear, and I'm gonna say it anyway because he was mine. My brother didn't make it, that's the actual chapter. My brother didn't make it, and the album needs the actual capture of the fact that survivor's guilt is a testimony most churches skip. My brother didn't make it, and I did. That's the actual grip of the weight I carry into every Sunday morning service. My brother didn't make it, and Christ knows I'm nervous that I'm giving testimony from the side that survived. My brother didn't make it, and I don't know why I'm alive. His mother still keeps his baby picture on the mantle. I visit her on his birthday every year with a candle. This isn't a trap, this is a debt. My brother didn't make it, and I haven't forgotten yet. The BUNK came through the chart. Let County BUNK, bottom rack on Unit 3B, the actual location. County BUNK, the mattress was 2 inches of foam over a metal foundation. County BUNK, the fluorescent light stayed on 24 hours, no variation. Between day and night, I lost the sense of time by day 2 of the incarceration. Yeah, my cellmate was 34, I was 19. He was doing 90 days on his second violation of the same probation for the same conviction, no relation. So what I was in for, I was pre-trial, 14 days waiting for the arraignment. My mother had put up the house as collateral for the bond application. The bond hearing was scheduled for the following Tuesday, the actual dispensation. All my life for the next 90 days depended on a stranger's evaluation, but whether my mother's house was sufficient assurance against my abscondation. My cellmate had done 7 separate stints in the same facility's foundation. He told me on day 1, kid, don't do anything to extend your duration. Don't fight, don't stare, don't complain, don't file a grievance about the sanitation. Just sit on your bunk and wait for your mother to complete the paperwork negotiation. County BUNK, the theology of holding still is the actual salvation. County BUNK, and my cellmate was the closest thing I had to a pastor in that station. Yeah, County BUNK, 14 days pre-trial, the actual test. County BUNK, the fluorescent light didn't rest. County BUNK, my mother put the house up for bond. County BUNK, and my cellmate was the actual pond of wisdom that got me through the actual duration. County BUNK, he had done 7 stints of the actual station. I'm returning to the same building for the same violation. County BUNK, and he passed me through the actual meditation. My mother visited on day 7, a specific glass partition where the visitor sits on one side and the incarcerated sits on the other in juxtaposition. The phone receiver is the only way to talk. The actual condition of the visitation is that you cannot touch the person on the other side of the partition. For 45 minutes she looked at me through the glass without much verbal expression, because both of us were doing everything we could not to break in front of the guard's supervision. She had put on the church dress she wore for weddings and funerals. The actual precision of that specific dress signaled that she was treating this like a serious enough occasion that she wanted the guards to see her as a woman that's standing, not just another mother making decisions about whether to bail out her son. She was making sure the guards knew I had somebody with volition, and that volition was watching them through the same glass I was watching it through. The mutual position of being witnessed on both sides. My mother in that specific dress on day 7 was the actual permission for me to hold on to something bigger than my situation, the actual religion. She was practicing, was named in that dress, and that dress was the actual provision. County bunk. My mother's church dress got me through the pricks, real vision. County bunk. And the bond came through on day 14, the actual precision. County bunk. 14 days per trio, the actual test. County bunk. The fluorescent light didn't rest. County bunk. My mother put the house up for bond. County bunk. And my cellmate was the actual pond of wisdom that got me through the actual duration. County bunk. He had done 7 stints at the actual station, returning to the same building for the same violation. County bunk. And he passed to me through the actual meditation. Yeah, the bond came through Tuesday afternoon, and my mother drove me home in silence. The silence wasn't anger, the silence was the specific silence of a woman who had just witnessed her son from behind glass with maximum patience and couldn't process the whole thing in the words yet. It would take months of resilience. She dropped me at the apartment and went straight back with work. No lecture, no violence, no sermon, no ultimatum. She just needed to get to her second shift for the household's balance. I sat on the couch for 4 hours before I got up and did anything. That 4 hours was the actual reckoning, the actual coming in of the fact that I had been in the county lockup for 14 days as a 19-year-old. And that fact was gonna be on my record for the rest of my actual life. The charges eventually got reduced to a misdemeanor. My public defender was decent, but the county bunk was already inside me, and there was no reduction of that residence. County bunk lives in you after you leave. The fluorescent light stays in your eyelids. County bunk, and that's the specific piece the album has to include with the evidence. The bond came through the chart. The night I almost went with him, March 4th, 2011. The night I almost went with him, I was 20, he was 7. Days younger than me, his name was Andre. My ride or die since middle school. The night I almost went with him, and something small kept the fool. The night I almost went with him, the seat was mine. The night I almost went with him, I was in the doorway that time. Yeah, Andre had the keys in his hand, engine already running, told me hurry. The night I almost went with him, and my mother called about my sister's flurry of drama with a boyfriend that had my mother upset. The night I almost went with him, and I picked up the phone, I hadn't yet told Andre I'd catch up with him in 20 minutes and closed the front door. The night I almost went with him, and Andre didn't come back no more. Yeah, the phone call from my mother took 22 minutes, I timed it later. The call was about my sister's boyfriend getting arrested for domestic labor, meaning he had hit her and she had finally called the police. The actual paperwork was being processed at that exact moment, and my mother needed me to work. The problem with my sister meaning drive over there and be present for the aftermath, which is what I did. I hung up with my mother, grabbed my keys, took a different path than the one Andre was on. I drove east to my sister's apartment on 23rd Street. The Andre drove west to make the pickup. He had been asking me to come with the meat. I didn't know what the pickup was that night. Andre kept the specifics from me because I was starting to pull back from certain things. Andre was letting me be. Having the pickup that night was outside a specific address in the Ridgewood section. The address had been set up by somebody Andre trusted. The actual connection turned out to be somebody who owed money to somebody else who wanted Andre dead. The setup was designed for one person to walk into a car with 3 men and end up dead. If I had gone with Andre that night, the car would have had 2 of us in it, and there would have been a second body in the report, and I'm the one who would fit. The night I almost went with him, the seat was mine. The night I almost went with him, I was in the doorway that time. Andre had the keys in his hand, engine already running, told me hurry. The night I almost went with him, and my mother called about my sister's flurry of drama with a boyfriend that had my mother upset. The night I almost went with him, and I picked up the phone, I hadn't yet told Andre I'd catch up with him in 20 minutes and close the front door. The night I almost went with him, and Andre didn't come back no more. Yeah, hey, I found out at 6 a.m. when my aunt called me. Andre was in Mercy Hospital. He didn't survive the surgery, pronounced at 5:47 a.m. official record. I drove to the hospital in the dark with my sister next to me in the passenger seat. My sister had spent the whole night at the police station making the actual statement about a boyfriend. The boyfriend who hit her, the boyfriend who indirectly saved my life by hitting my sister and forcing my mother to call me and interrupt me from the fatal drive. Yeah, that's the theology I had to build in the year since March 4th, 2011. The father used my sister's crisis to keep me out of Andre's car. The actual heaven was operating a chain of events I couldn't have engineered if I tried for a decade. My sister's boyfriend's violence, my mother's phone call, my willingness to pick up the phone. Every link in that specific chain was necessary to keep me from being in the car alone. And I know how to hold that in my hands without shaking a little bit still. Andre saved my life by getting into that car without me. Andre's death was the price of a phone call that saved me. And I don't know how to preach that from a pulpit without breaking. The night I almost went with him, and the ache is still in the making. The night I almost went with him, the seat was mine. The night I almost went with him, I was in the doorway that time. Andre had the keys in his hand, engine already running, told me hurry. The night I almost went with him, and my mother called about my sister's flurry of drama with a boyfriend that had my mother upset. The night I almost went with him, and I picked up the phone, I hadn't yet told Andre I'd catch up with him in 20 minutes and closed the front door. The night I almost went with him, March 4th, 2011, 22-minute phone call. See, that was mine. Andre took the fall. The night I almost went with him, the album had Soul Clue. The night I almost went with him, and the weight is not subdued. Yeah, I don't know, no. And the honesty made me free, yeah. 2 years after I got saved, I still owe the streets 6,200. 2 years after I got saved, I still had 6 specific people I couldn't run into. 2 years after I got saved, my number was still in phones I didn't wanna know. 2 years after I got saved, I still crossed the street when I saw certain cars slow. The salvation didn't reset the ledger, the salvation just changed who I was. The ledger was still there, the people I owe money that still had the same cars. The people who owe me money still had my number in their phone contacts list. The addresses I used to visit still had my face in their memories and sit. But I owe the streets, didn't disappear at the altar call. What I owe the streets, kept the receipts in the actual mall of every relationship I had built in the actual 4 years before. What I owe the streets, and the ledger stayed on the actual floor. What I owe the streets, 6,200 the actual sum. What I owe the streets, 6 people I still had to run from, even after I got saved on that specific Sunday. What I owe the streets, the debts don't clear up in one day. Christ paid a debt I couldn't pay on Calvary to cross. What I owe the streets, but the street ledger held its gloss until I made the specific phone calls and paid the specific money. What I owe the streets, and the honesty had to become the money. The pastor at my new church told me I was a new creation. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Old things have passed away, behold, all things have become new. The actual scene was theologically true. My spirit was born again, my identity was in Christ. But the pastor didn't know about the 6,200 or the 6 specific people or the price. The pastor's theology of new creation didn't have a chapter for the tactical question of how a new creation deals with the old creation's actual practical debts that was still owed the actual people who still knew my actual government name. So I built the chapter myself, I called each of the 6 people, and I named the amount, the deadline for repayment, the plan for making it good. I paid off 6,200 across 14 months, working overnight security in the neighborhood. 2 of the 6 people I owed would save themselves and forgave the debt. The other 4 wanted the money, and I paid them without any actual regret. What I owe the streets, Christ paid the eternal, I still had to pay the earthly. What I owe the streets, didn't disappear at the altar call. What I owe the streets, kept the receipts in the actual mall of relationship I had built in the actual 4 years before. What I owe the streets, and the ledger stayed on the actual floor. What I owe the streets, 66200, the actual song. What I owe the streets, 6 people I still had to run from, even after I got saved on that specific Sunday. What I owe the streets, the debts don't clear up in one day. Christ paid the debt I couldn't pay on Calvary, the cross. What I owe the streets, but the street ledger held its gloss until I made the specific phone calls and paid the specific money. What I owe the streets, and the honesty had to become the money. Yeah, there's a specific testimony language that skips this part of the story. The testimony language says God delivered me from the streets and moves to glory. The testimony language treats the past as something that closed when Jesus opened. The testimony language is not wrong, but the testimony language is left unopened. The specific practical chapter of what walking with Christ actually looks like in year 1, when the phone still rings from numbers that shouldn't have your number. The actual sun doesn't rise on a fully clear ledger. The sun rises on the same debt you had at midnight, and you have to walk into each specific room and pay each specific debt in the actual light. That being a new creation gives you the courage to walk in the rooms you couldn't walk into before. What I owe the streets, the new creation didn't erase. The new creation restored the capacity to actually pay what I actually owe. That's the specific theology I own. 6 people, 14 months of overnight shifts. Woo! Woo! Christ paid the debt to the Father, I paid the debt to the legends. Both the gospel, both the Christ, both are needed. But I owe the street, and the honesty made me free. My grandmother's prayer list was on the refrigerator in her kitchen, held up by a Piggly Wiggly magnet. I saw it every time I walked in. For years I didn't read it. For years it was just paper to me. I was 19 the first time I actually stopped and read it in the kitchen slowly. She had 47 names on that list, organized by category: grandchildren, nieces and nephews, church members, co-workers, neighbors. The mystery names of people I didn't recognize who apparently mattered enough to her to make a prayer list in her handwriting on the front of the refrigerator door. And I was the 4th name from the top of the grandchildren, and beside my name in different handwriting from the rest of the list, she had written specific prayer points that she had been carrying for me for the last 4 years. That he stops running with Marcus was the first line. That he goes back to school was the 2nd line. That he calls his mother more was the 3rd line. That he meets Christ before it's too late was the 4th line. And she had dated the 4th line. She'd added it in October 2009. 2 months after I stopped going to church with her on Sundays. 2 months after the specific fight we had about my future. For 4 years she had been praying that specific prayer for me, and I had been living my life without knowing. Every Tuesday morning she got up at 5 a.m. to pray for her list. Every Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. my name was in her mouth, and I didn't know that. I didn't know that for 4 years. I only found out the day I stopped in her kitchen and read the refrigerator. Grandmama kept praying, her list was on the fridge. Grandmama kept praying. Tuesday 5 a.m. the actual bridge between who I was and who I would become, the actual crossing. Grandmama kept praying, and my name was in her flaws. I got saved 8 months after I read the refrigerator. I don't know if the two are connected in a way I can prove. I know they're connected inside me. The Sunday I walked back into her church, I sat next to her in the 3rd pew. And when the pastor made the altar call at the end of the service, she took my hand. She didn't say anything, she just held my hand for the whole altar call. And I stood up and walked to the front and gave my life to Christ that Sunday. And when I came back to the pew, she was crying, but she still didn't say anything. She just held my hand for the rest of the service. And afterward at her kitchen table, she made me a plate of the food she had cooked before church. And we ate together for the first time in almost a year without any real conflict. And I looked over at the refrigerator during dinner, and I noticed something new. She had drawn a small cross next to my name on the prayer list. That cross was the answer to the 4-year prayer. That cross was the visible mark of what she had been carrying visibly. My grandmother died 2 years after that Sunday. Pancreatic cancer, 78 years old. Her prayer list was still on the refrigerator when we cleaned out her house. I took the prayer list, I still have it. It's in a frame in my bedroom. When I have children of my own, I'm gonna start my own list. I'm gonna gonna put their names in the same handwriting my grandmother used. Because intercession is a specific inherited practice I got from a specific woman. And her prayer for me got answered, and I owe her a list of my own. Grandmama kept praying, her list was on the fridge. Grandmama kept praying. Tuesday 5 a.m. the actual bridge between who I was and who I would become, the actual crossing. Grandmama kept praying, and my name was in a flossing. The list is in a frame in my bedroom. The cross is next to my name in her handwriting. Grandmama kept praying, and the prayer worked, and I'm gonna start my own list before my life gets shorter. The Sunday I walked in, I was 22, wearing my only button up. The Sunday I walked in, I hadn't been inside since I was 15. Crack cup. The doors of the church were heavier than the doors of the county lockup. Sunday I walked in, and the usher didn't recognize me. No touch up. The Sunday I walked in, Grace Baptist on Marcus Garvey and 1/8. The service started at 10:30. I got there at 10:24 for the actual entrance. Not too early, I didn't want to sit in the empty sanctuary for meditation. Not too late, I didn't want to walk in during opening worship's actual congregation. The 10:24 arrival was calibrated for maximum invisibility in the actual location. I wore the only button up I own, light blue Oxford, no tie, the actual fabrication. Formal enough to be respectful and casual enough to be comfortable in the situation. I had shaved that morning for the first time in a week, a specific preparation. But my face was the physical preparation of walking through the actual station. The ushers at the door with 3 black men in their 60s wearing the actual formation of the Deacon Boy Sunday uniform, dark suits, white shirts, the actual demarcation of authority in a Black Baptist tradition. I didn't know any of them, the isolation of being the person walking in who didn't have relationships hit hard in that station. One of the ushers, the oldest one, reached out and shook my hand and said, "Welcome home." He didn't know me, he didn't know I hadn't been to church in 7 years. The specific tone of welcome home wasn't performance, it was the specific default liturgy of the door watch operation. And welcome home was the exact 3-syllable phrase that broke something in the foundation. The Sunday I walked in, welcome home was the phrase. The Sunday I walked in, the usher didn't know it was praise he was giving me. Welcome home was the actual door. Sunday I walked in, and the phrase was the actual score of everything I had needed 7 years without knowing. And the door was the actual showing that the church was still there and had been there the whole time. And the entrance was the actual run. I sat in the 3rd row from the back on the left side of the sanctuary. The choir was already singing when I sat down. The specific song was nothing but the blood. And when the choir hit the chorus for the 2nd time, something in my chest that had been tight for 7 years let go. Not dramatically, nobody around me could see it. I didn't cry visibly, but something released in my sternum during the actual 2nd chorus. And I knew I was gonna make it through the service, and I knew I was gonna walk down for the altar call at the end. The pastor's sermon was on Luke 15, the parable of the prodigal, the actual precision of the sermon. That specific Sunday was so on the nose, it felt like divine editorial supervision was operating the pulpit. I don't know if the pastor knew I was in the room, no clarification was needed. The sermon met me at the exact intersection of my actual situation. The father saw the son a long way off and had compassion. Verse 20, the actual position of the father before the son had finished his prepared speech was the actual demonstration that the father had been watching the horizon the whole time, the actual vision. Luke 15 verse 20 is that the father was actively looking, not passively. The decision is scan for the returning son every day for years was the father's active mission. Not sitting inside waiting for the son to knock, actively watching the horizon for the reunion. And the son didn't have to finish his repentant speech, the father interrupted with provision. The best robe, the ring, the fatted calf, the return got a full restoration commission. The Sunday I walked in, I hadn't prepared a speech, no rehearsed rendition of confession. I just walked to the front during the altar call, no prepared submission. The pastor didn't ask me to explain where I had been for 7 years. No petition for account, he just prayed with me and welcomed me back into the family collision. Sunday I walked in, and the Father had been watching the horizon for the actual reunion. The Sunday I walked in, welcome home was the phrase. The Sunday I walked in, the usher didn't know was praise. He was giving me welcome home was the actual door. The Sunday I walked in, the phrase was the actual score of everything I had needed for 7 years without knowing. Sunday I walked in, and the door was the actual showing that the church was still there and had been there the whole time. Sunday I walked in the end. That baptism water. Yeah. Baptism water. Grace Baptist, first Sunday of March. Baptism water. I was 23 and the water was stars. White, right. The road they gave me the deep end of the sanctuary pool. Baptism water. The pastor's hand at the small of my back. No fool. Yeah. Position buried with him in baptism. The actual verse. Colossians 2:12. The water was the actual reverse of who I was walking in. Baptism water, the pool. Yeah. Baptism water. And the person that came up was cool. The Sunday I got baptized was the 3rd Sunday of March 2013. The baptistry at Grace Baptist was behind the pulpit on the left side of the scene. Elevated 3 feet above the sanctuary floor with glass on the front so the congregation could see. The pastor had walked me through the sequence in his office the Wednesday before coffee, and the Bible opened to Romans 6. Buried with him by baptism into death. Verse 4. That like as Christ was raised up from the dead by the glory of the actual breath of the Father. Even so, we also should walk in newness of life, the actual theological way. I was 23 and I had never been underwater in front of an audience in my adult state. The church provided a white robe, cotton, reached to my knees, clean but plain. Underneath I was told to wear whatever I would wear if I were gonna swim the domain of practical wisdom the pastor had accumulated from watching 100 candidates prepare. I wore my own box of briefs and a t-shirt, my grandmother's advice from when I was there. As a kid watching my cousins get baptized in a different Baptist church in a different city. The choir sang "Wade in the Water" while I walked up the steps. The actual continuity of a black church tradition that had been baptizing believers in the same song for 200 years. And now the song was for me. I was the specific believer being weighed in the water through the tears. Baptism water. Grace Baptist, 1st Sunday in March. Baptism water. I was 23 and the water was stars. White. The road they gave me the deep end of the sanctuary pool. Baptism water. The pastor's hand at the small of my back. No fool. Position buried with him in baptism. The actual verse. Colossians 2:12. The water was the actual reverse of who I was walking in. Baptism water, the pool. Baptism water. And the person that came up was cool. The pastor stood in the water first. He was already in there when I stepped down. The water was warmer than I expected. The church had a heater on the pool. The actual gown was designed to float slightly so it wouldn't drag me down when I went under. I stepped into the water and stood next to the pastor. He asked me the 2 questions of wonder of every Baptist baptism has been asking for 400 years. Do you confess Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? I said I do. Do you commit to follow him? I said I do. The price of both answers was already paid by the walking down and the being in the water, the actual real answer wasn't the yes, the answer was the fact that I was already standing there to seal. To the pastor said, upon your profession of faith, I now baptize you in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. He put one hand behind my head, one in my lower back, and he lead me back into the water. The actual buried with the moment happened in slow motion. The water covered my face, my ears, my whole head. The actual damping sensation of being underwater was maybe 2 seconds, but the 2 seconds were the actual chapter. The pastor lifted me back up, I broke the surface. The water ran down my face, and after the rest of my body I opened my eyes, and the congregation was standing and applauding. The person who went under wasn't the same person who came up. that's the actual doctrine. Baptism water, Grace Baptist, first Sunday in March. Baptism water, I was 23 and the water was stars. White, the road they gave me, the deep into the sanctuary pool. Baptism water, the pastor's hand at the small of my back. No food position, bury with him in baptism. The actual verse, Colossians 2:12. The water was the actual reverse of who I was walking in. Baptism water, the pool. Baptism water, and the person that came up was cool. Third Sunday in March 2013, Grace Baptist, deep into the pool. Laid in the water, the pastor's hand, the water was warm. No food. The person who went under isn't the person who came up. Baptism water, that's the album's actual cup. Baptism water, that's the album's actual cup. So Marcus is still on the corner at 34 years old. Jerome caught 20 years federal in 2016, the actual mold. Andre is in a cemetery on Rockaway Boulevard, Section H, Plot 47. The ones I left behind. The album has to include the actual heaven. Let me name them because the album owes them the specific names. Marcus is 34 now. I passed him on the corner 2 summers ago in the game. He was standing outside the same corner store on Sycamore where he stood at 19. Same spot, 15 years of the same spot, the same specific scene. I stopped and shook his hand and he told me he was proud of me for what I had become. Marcus said you got out like it was a completed action that had left him some distance from where he was standing. I told Marcus I had been praying for him. Marcus laughed, not meanly, sadly, said, "Kid, you don't understand what it's been since 2013, since I got saved, since I stopped answering his calls." Marcus had lost his mother to cancer in 2015. I hadn't been at the funeral halls. Marcus had done a stint upstate in 2018 for a violation of a violation I hadn't visited. Marcus was standing on the same corner with less friends and less options, and I had missed it. I had missed it because I had needed to miss it to survive my own actual escape. The theology of my own survival had required a certain distance from the specific weight of the specific people who had been my brothers when I couldn't have made it without them. Marcus was my brother when nobody at church knew my name. Marcus was the family, them rooms in my mother's apartment couldn't be when nobody was home for 8 hours at a time. Marcus was 17 when he first paid attention to me at 14. That specific attention was crime adjacent, but that specific attention was also literal survival. I would not be alive if Marcus hadn't been paying attention to me at 14. The attention got me to 15 to 25 to arrive at the church door in 2013. And Marcus is still on the corner, and Jerome is doing 20 years, and Andre's in the ground, and I'm walking in the actual honor of a Sunday morning service in a church that doesn't know Marcus's name. And I don't know how to hold that theologically without the specific pain of the fact that my salvation looks like leaving this specific people who kept me alive, so I could get to the church that could actually give me the actual dry land of a life that Marcus doesn't have access to. And I don't know if Marcus wants it. The pastor at my church would tell me to bring Marcus to church next Sunday to sit him down and give him the gospel. The pastor doesn't know that Marcus knows the gospel. Marcus went to my grandmother's church at 8 years old. Marcus knew every hymn, the parcel of information about Jesus is not what Marcus is missing. Marcus is missing the specific option to leave the corner in a way that doesn't cost him more to stay in. The actual adoption of a new life requires an exit ramp. I had the exit ramp because my mother put up the house. Marcus's mother is dead. Marcus has no house to put up for a bond. Marcus has no spouse, no inheritance. Marcus has 15 years of the same corner in the same way to the same crown of a specific street identity that is now permanent because there's no financial way down. Hey. And the church I attend has a theology of individual salvation that doesn't have a chapter for the specific structural exit ramp economics that determine who gets to leave the specific matter of the corner. And I'm walking in the church knowing Marcus is on the corner, and I don't have a theology that reconciles both facts. And I don't wanna be the reporter, the one ones I left behind. Marcus, Jerome, Andre. The ones I left behind. I know their names, the array of specific people who kept me alive until I could get out. The ones I left behind. And I'm not gonna sing without the shout. Marcus is 34, Jerome is doing 20, Andre is buried on Rockaway. The album has to include their names before it ends the actual way. The ones I left behind, and Christ knows I still owe them. The ones I left behind, and the song is the one hymn. I still got the scars. 12 years after I got saved, I still got the scars. It didn't fade with the parade. I still got the scars. The tattoo on my neck stays. I still got the scars. The limp from the shot the day I got sprayed. The nightmares are less frequent, but they still come once a month. I still got the scars, and the scars are the actual hunt. Still got the scars, still got the scars. The tattoo, still got the scars, still got the scars. The limb, still got the scars, still got the scars. The dreams, still got the scars, still got the scars. The actual me, the tattoo on the left side of my neck is Marcus's crew symbol. I got it at 17 in an apartment on Lennon with a home machine. The pigment was set deep. The tattoo was faded slightly over 15 years, but the tattoo is still legible. I consider laser removal. The removal costs $300-400 minimum. The actual bill is beyond what my current situation can accommodate, and honestly, I'm not sure I want to. The tattoo is a testimony marker every time somebody at church notices it. There's a specific 2-second conversation where I choose whether to explain the exhibit or let it stand. Most Sundays, I let it stand. The tattoo is my body's own witness that I was somebody before I was who I am now. The tattoo is the actual receipt. Baptism clean the soul. The tattoo stays on the neck. Both are simultaneously true. I still got the scar. Tattoo on my neck stays. I still got the scar. The limp from the shot the day I got sprayed. The nightmares are less frequent, but they still come once a month. I still got the scars, and the scars are the actual hunt. Still got the scars, still got the scars. The tattoo, still got the scars, still got the scars. The limb, still got the scars, still got the scars. The dreams, still got the scars, still got the scars. The actual me, The limp in my left leg is from a bullet fragment lodged near my femur. The bullet came from a drive-by in April 2011. I was 20, the shooter was 15 feet away, and I was walking to the corner store with my headphones on. The bullet clipped my leg, not the femoral artery. I was in the ER by dawn. The surgery removed 3 fragments. 1 fragment they left because removal was too risky. The remaining fragment is the reason I limp slightly when I get tired at 33. Nobody at church knows about the fragment because I hide the limp when I can. The people at church who know me best have noticed on cold days when I can't stand on. The lip becomes visible around the 3rd song of the worship set, and the deacon board chairman noticed once and asked me if I was okay, and I said yeah. Something more honest than I usually say. I said the leg is old, damage from before. I still got the scars, and the deacon board chairman nodded and didn't ask more. The tattoo on my neck stays. I still got the scars. The limp from the shot the day I got sprayed. The nightmares are less frequent, but they still come once a month. I still got the scars. The scars are the actual hunt. Still got the scars, still got the scars. The tattoo, still got the scars, still got the scars. The limb, still got the scars, still got the scars. The dreams, still got the scars, still got the scars. Actual me. The nightmare started the year after I got saved, and I don't fully understand why. I dream about the specific night I almost moved with Andre, the seat I didn't occupy. I dream about the phone call from my mother determined to save me. The actual weight of being the one who lived when the friend who I love got in the car and met his fate. The dreams come once a month and once every 6 weeks. They haven't gone away in 12 years. The pastor at my church prayed with me about the dreams once, and the dreams got clearer, not less frequent, clearer. Meaning I remember them longer after waking up in the morning. The pastor said maybe the dreams are the way my subconscious is still chill process in the morning. I never got to do publicly for Andre in my 20s because I was too busy trying to get free. The dreams might be my grief, catching up to me in slow motion across the actual decade. John 20 verse 27. The resurrected Christ kept his nail scars. The actual verse. The glorified body of Jesus is holes in their hands. The resurrection didn't reverse the evidence of the wound. The resurrection kept the wound. This identifying mark of grace. I still got the yeah. Who I was, the kid at 14 alone in the afternoon. Who I was, the 16-year-old with the weight of an object in the actual room. Who I was, the 18-year-old at 8th and Prospect burying his brother. Who I was, the 19-year-old in Unit 3B on the bottom bunk with another. Man, who taught him how to survive 14 patrial days with dignity? Who I was, the 20-year-old whose sister's boyfriend hit and her saved him from mortality. Who I was, the 21-year-old who owed the street 6 stocks, 200 and had to pay it. Who I was, the 22-year-old who read his grandmother's prayer list on the refrigerator way it was written in her handwriting with a cross next to his name from October 2009. Who I was, the 23-year-old who walked into Grace Baptist on Marcus Garvey, the actual line where 118th intersects, and heard the usher say, "Welcome home," in a specific tone. Who I was, the 23-year-old who got baptized on the 3rd Sunday of March in a full gown. Who I was, every specific age of every specific chapter, 14, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Who I was, the specific set of specific decisions that made the specific arc actual. Who I was, not the same person. The album is closing with the actual transactional difference between who I was and who I am is what the album has been documenting. Who I am, the 34-year-old who works overnight security and pays his own rent. Who I am, the husband to a woman I met at Grace Baptist during Wednesday night event. Who I am, the father of a 2-year-old daughter whose middle name is my grandmother's name. Who I am, the man who visits his mother every Sunday for dinner in the same actual frame where he grew up alone in the afternoon. Now the same apartment as his daughter running through. The son who calls his sister every Tuesday to check on her the way she checked on him. When his sister's boyfriend's violence indirectly saved his life on March 4, 2011. Who I am, the man who visits Andre's grave twice a year, March 4th and August, his birthday. Who I am, the man who paid off the 6,200 and still had the list of the 6 names on a paper in his wallet as a reminder of what walking with Christ actually cost. Who I am, the man who still limps when he's tired and still has Marcus's crew tattoo, no gloss. Who I am, the man who has been sober from every addiction his 20s tried on him for 8 years. Who I am, the man who serves on the deacon board at Grace Baptist without any fear of the specific past. Cause the specific past is what the specific pastor asked him to serve from. Who I am is the specific transformation of who I was. Christ made the transaction. Who I was and who I am are the same body, but Christ owns the actual chapter. Who I was and who I am are named in the album's actual title. Who I was, the cross took the pen and rewrote every actual middle chapter of who I will become, but the cross didn't erase the previous. Who I was, the tattoo is still there, the limp is still there. The previous chapter is on the record, but the current chapter is signed in different ink. Who I was, and the album ends where the ink is still wet on the actual link between the past and the present, and Christ is the actual pen. Who I was, and the album closes on the actual specific name of what I've been. The kid I was at 14, first time I held it, my brother didn't make it. county bunk the night I almost went in what I owed the streets. Grandmama kept praying in the Sunday I walk in baptism water. The ones I left behind, I still got the scars. Who I was, 12 tracks, 12 chapters, 12 specific pieces of who I was. And the person listening to this song right now is who I am, who I was. And the album closes, who I was. And the album is the actual bridge to who I've become.